Hi, it's me, Renjit. If you enjoyed this episode, I request you to leave us a review. This will help us to reach more great podcast listeners like you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to FS Brew. FS Brew is the region's first podcast focusing on all things insurance and insurtech here in the UAE and the wider Middle East. I'm Vidya. I'm the founder of Forward, a startup that works with insurance companies to accelerate their go-to-market propositions, digital transformation, and digital marketing initiatives.
Hello, I'm Renjit Philip. I advise startups on their business models, go-to-market strategies, funding, and unit economics. I'm deeply interested in the fintech, insurtech, DeFi space, and I'm very happy to be here with you.
Renjit, who are we meeting today?
So we have the good fortune of meeting Neeraj Gupta, the CEO of PolicyBazaar.ae. Neeraj Gupta is the CEO of PolicyBazaar, which is the overseas venture of India's biggest aggregator, PolicyBazaar.com. Neeraj envisions fostering a behavioral change in the UAE relating to how finances and social security is perceived in the region. He's all for promoting the digital channels as a preferred medium for consumers, especially when managing personal finance. Furthermore, he's all in favor of rejuvenating the entire ecosystem. So give a warm welcome to Neeraj. So welcome to FS Brew, a very special edition. We've got Mr. Neeraj Gupta here, who is the CEO of PolicyBazaar.ae, which is the overseas venture of India's biggest insurance aggregator, PolicyBazaar.com.
Hi, everyone.
Let's welcome Neeraj to the show. And I just want to add, before he was the CEO of PolicyBazaar, Neeraj, you are heading the motor vertical for the flagship venture in India.
Sure.
So this is a question we ask all our guests. Because many times insurance is not really the go-to profession for anybody. But once you're in it, you start enjoying it. So here's our question. We like to understand, how did you get into insurance?
Okay. So I wasn't looking at getting into insurance, to be honest, right? I had done my master's from Bombay, and I was working with Wipro in a pre-sales sort of a role in Bangalore. And it was about 8-9 months into the role. And it was a typical 9 to 5 sort of a role doing multiple things. I moved across within Wipro in multiple spaces, but I wasn't getting that feel about, yes, this is what I really want to do. And that is the time I came across Policybazaar. I was looking to hire. I obviously applied, and I got a call from Yashish, who's our founder and CEO, the MD now. So we got chatting, Yashish and me were on a phone call, and this is very surprising, okay? So not a surprising, but very funny story. So I was driving and I got a call from Yashish. I did not know who this guy is, right? So, and I believe he was also flipping through some pages, so he forgot my name. So he took about a couple of seconds and like, okay, hi, this is Neeraj, okay. And this is Yashish. I was like, okay, I'm driving right now, I'll get back to you. Yeah. So I go home and check, okay, this is the CEO of a company calling me. So obviously I called back. We had a conversation, and it was a very short and to the point conversation, about 10 minutes of conversation. And the whole gist was primarily that you're based out of Bangalore. Do you want to move to Delhi? And I was like, yes. I have been not born, but brought up in Delhi. My schooling is in Delhi. And yes, if the role is exciting, yes, I am keen to move anywhere.
Right.
And that is that. And Yashish told me, okay, take the next flight and come and join us. I was like, okay, this is pretty fast. So having said that, then obviously I flew in the next week. We got chatting. I met Yashish and Alok. And then we decided, yes, this sounds good. And that is how my journey with Policybazaar began.
Fantastic.
Wow. That's awesome. Coming back to the Middle East region itself, Policybazaar entered the UAE market at a time when many aggregators were taking shape in the region, like, the likes of Sukalmal, Yalla Compare, and there's just a lot of excitement in the air. Now, at the back of it, why is Middle East an attractive market for Policybazaar? Why did you decide to enter this market? Could you talk us through that?
So a couple of things, right? About 2017 is when we were looking out. and that is where we started exploring. And Middle East somehow came on the top of it. So obviously the regions for us were Southeast Asia and Middle East came on top, and especially the UAE, because two things, right? One, the UAE definitely has a lot of Indian diaspora, and having said that, the more people we interacted with, the knew about Policybazaar.
Right.
So for us, then it became a very easy ground to start up and start building up. Because when the consumers are aware about your brand, so you can essentially do sort of a beta testing with that phase. You don't really need to go out there telling what you are, what do you want to do. So what we realize is a lot of consumers have experienced us and they have some brand affinity towards us. And what we saw in the region was that a lot of insurance was still traditionally sold, be it online, but online also very traditional way, right? So you come in and still somebody's talking to you, certain papers are getting signed and so forth, right? And that is where we saw the opportunity. Decent market size, too many insurers, no insurer has a monopoly, and traditional way of selling. So we definitely saw a gap there, and we believe we could address that the problem of insurance penetration as well.
Got it. And obviously, over the last couple of years, I mean, we're still going through it, this whole pandemic, and obviously, there's a human side to it. But for many companies and let's say digital initiatives, this has been a shot in the arm.
Oh yeah.
Now, when we take a look at some of the presence that you have, we feel there's a bit of focus on health and life. Was that deliberate, or was that a strategy which changed when COVID came, or was it something you've been running for long?
So for Policybazaar, if you look at our ethos and if you look at our communication, be it India, be it UAE, so we continue to do mandatory products, right? So India also motor is a mandatory product. We continue to focus on that. In UAE also we continue to focus on that, right? But we also at the same time genuinely believe in the protection piece. And when we talk about protection, then we're talking about health insurance, term life insurance, critical illnesses, and so forth. And why do we believe that, right? See, if you look at a typical middle class family, insurance is the only way. If some eventuality was to happen to the bread earner, insurance was the only way you could cover your costs, right? A typical average middle class family does not have enough funds to accommodate if the bread earner dies or has a serious illness, right? Because the medical care costs are too high. And as a result, we saw protection as the only genuine way for a middle class family to have some sense of stability if the bread earner is not there. And that is why we continue to focus on protection.
Right. And then really keeping protection at the center of it. How do you think the landscape has changed, and what is the future of the whole aggregator business model in the UAE? So from 2017 when you entered to what it is now, a lot of them have done catch up. You have several brokers, several players that have entered into the market, and now it's a fairly cluttered space. So what do you think is the future of this whole aggregator business?
See, I believe distribution digitally of insurance products is going to become very, very important and is going to keep on pacing upwards. And so I would also like to say we do not consider ourselves just an aggregator. So although we are clubbed there, and why I say that. See, if you talk about an aggregator, what it correlates is a person who's just comparing products and selling, right? We are a lot more than that, right? If you look at our India landscape, what have we been able to do? So we've really gotten into the entire life cycle of an insurance. So what I mean by that is we've really educated the consumer on what protection is, what different classes of products are. We help them zero down on the right product. We also service that product, right? We also help you with your claims. So we are going the whole life cycle onto how a consumer experiences an insurance product, right? Although we would or our pray is that the consumers do not need to use that, but unfortunately, you will need to use insurance, right? And we want to give a seamless experience to a consumer. Because if you talk to a layman about insurance, the first thing he says, these guys are not going to pay claims.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That is
Perception.
somehow the negative tone associated with insurance. And trust me or not, in our last 13, 14 years of being associated with insurance, we've genuinely not seen a company deny a genuine claim.
Yeah.
See, what has happened is they have made the systems and processes so cumbersome or robust from their perspective is to avoid the frauds. And as a result, a lot of genuine claims at times suffer. But the objective of insurance company is not to do that. That is where we come in. See, what we're trying to do is simplify and demystify the insurance, right? And build in a lot more technology so that we can genuinely weed out the frauds from genuine claims so that it becomes a better experience for consumers. And that is what we want to do here as well. So wherever the consumer has a genuine claim, we see that he gets it on time in the right fashion. See, you will be surprised when we started here, one of the insurers we were speaking to, and then we started especially term life. They noted that a lot of our cases go to underwriting.
Right.
And the thing was not that because we were sourcing negative lives or we were sourcing bad profiles. The reason was earlier, through whatever channel the insurer was selling, there was no declaration from a customer. So everybody was clean, fit, and fine.
Right.
Whereas with us, what is happening is consumers are declaring. And this is way better for an insurance company because now they can underwrite the risk much better. They know, okay, Neeraj has XYZ problem. Vidya does not have XYZ problem. So you can underwrite the cases better. Earlier, what was happening? Neeraj was fit and fine, Vidya was fit and fine. Renjit was fit and fine, everybody was fit and fine. But that was not the actual data, right? So as a result, what we are seeing is we are now trying to do all that aspect, right? So what we're trying to do is we're also speaking to insurers, understanding our consumer, and co-creating products. So when I talk about that, is why I say we are not a typical aggregator who just compares and does a product. We get into a product innovation perspective, claims process perspective. How can we make consumer experience far superior? But having said that, you also asked how does the landscape look for a digital distribution?
The future side of it.
I believe it's going to go up only, right? Because what we are seeing from a consumer side also, with the entire COVID, he's definitely realized some sort of protection is required. He's still debating what is right, what is not right, but at least that debate has started. Okay, I need to probably buy a health insurance. I need to have a life insurance. If I'm not there tomorrow, what happens to my family? Right? Those discussions have started. And the more and more we see the consumer are also preferring a digital medium where they want to have limited interaction or interaction with probably an advisor when they want. So they want to first research on their own, not speak to somebody. And once they have a fair bit of ideas, speak to somebody. All that digital can help you with.
Yeah.
Right. And secondly, digital also helps you address your concerns and your needs at your place and time of choosing, right? So you want to really look at an insurance at probably 11 in the night because that is the time you have. You look at that point of time, right? And see, digital, that is where it's going to grow. And if you see, especially the UAE population, this is a very, very digital savvy population. Everything can happen digitally, right, in this market. And consumption of social media is probably one of the highest in the world. So at least here the consumers are very okay to use digital mediums. So and why not then the insurance piece? We have to make it much easier and simpler.
Yeah. I was going to ask you a little bit about, what would it take to succeed as an aggregator? And now I'm going to change that. You're not an aggregator. You're almost like a customer, sort of experience provider for insurance. You talked about helping them handle claims, helping them reach, their insurance companies digitally. There's a lot of evolution happening, as you mentioned. And we noticed, I think it was a couple of months back, you had a tie-up with the Etihad Credit Bureau as well. Wondering if that is also kind of providing that wholesome, seamless kind of flow to the customers.
So the credit bureau was part of our financial services, which is the banking piece, right?
Okay.
So what we're trying to do here is get the credit score out there for consumers. Right. See, a lot of consumers who want to access credit in the region, they would not know what a credit score is and how does that impact the chances of availing a credit service. So our objective is to create those learnings and for a consumer to be much more aware about what the credit score is, how does it help him to use a credit service tomorrow, and if he's not part of the chain, how can he get into the credit piece? So that is to do with financial products on the banking side.
Understood. Got it. Thank you for that. Vidya.
Yeah, so you mentioned about when you were considering to enter the Middle East market, and especially the UAE market. Obviously, Indian diaspora population is quite high, so therefore it felt quite natural to be here. Now, when we look at your company literature, your marketing messages, and the use of the celebrity and influencers, it's very much tapping into the Indian diaspora's sentiment. Now, is that because it is the primary or the only customer segment, or with the whole resurgence in from ADQ investment point of view and general future plans, is there an expansion or customer personas for Policybazaar? That's one. And I also wanted to know, if you can speak a bit more about generally the efficiency of customer acquisition. We see quite heavy spend from Policybazaar. It's enviable for many brands. How do you actually maintain a great balance when it comes to top line and the acquisition costs?
Fair enough. So I'll address the first piece. A lot of people have asked, are you focused on Indian consumers? No. So that is not what we are focused on only. So anybody who is a UAE resident is our potential consumer. But having said that, we focused a lot on the Indian diaspora, as I mentioned. We were also testing things, right? We were also trying to figure out what works, what does not work. And now we have a fair bit of an idea around that. And we had a lot more capabilities to address that population, right? From a language perspective, and just naturally, that comes naturally to us, right? But now, in due course of time, in a couple of weeks, months, you will start to see us more as a UAE population, or the UAE population being our consumers. And you will see a lot of marketing campaigns reaching out to the masses in UAE, irrespective of the nationality. So that is what you will definitely see.
We see a lot of spend from Policybazaar. So how do you maintain the balance? How do you make sure that it stacks up from top line perspective?
See, what we do is we continue to evolve in this region, and we continue to experiment with our marketing channels, right? And obviously, with experiments come certain costs. Some campaigns work, some do not work. But our essential objective is to build the brand, right? Building a brand is very important for us. So what we've also seen, a lot of consumers here know about Policybazaar, but they did not know Policybazaar were here in UAE addressing local products to the consumers. And that is where we are focused on. See, currently our focus is definitely on growth at the right cost. Obviously, we wouldn't go berserk on that. But what we see is there's a life cycle, and thankfully, because I have been a part of that life cycle, so we are pretty much aligned with that. So obviously, your costs are high initially, then it tapers down, and I believe we are following that curve. So in terms of costs of acquisition and all, it follows that curve. It is high, then it tapers down, right? Once you start to build a brand, and that is where we are.
Right. And Akshay Kumar still remains, or will he continue or drop off?
So obviously he continues to be our brand ambassador very much in the India piece, and wherever we can use him here, we will try and do that. But let's see how it goes.
Awesome.
Perfect. Just stepping back a little bit, you've seen, you've been now here for some time. You've seen a number of these insurtechs coming in. You got pay as you drive and some of these concepts being experimented. And on the other hand, there are insurance companies. Some of them are forward-looking. Some of them stay as traditional as before. So what is your general view? do you look at the whole ecosystem as a matter of competition, or do you see that there is chance for collaboration and the pie is as big for everybody?
So I believe I don't see anybody as a challenge per se, right? Because what we need to do is we need to digitize the entire industry, right? And the more the players, the better it is, because everybody is doing a part of it. If there is only one person talking about it, then the industry takes a lot more time, and we need to shorten that time frame. So I believe a lot more players are going to definitely help move the entire uh, industry digital much faster. So I don't see that as a challenge per se, right? Obviously, we might be competing for the same consumers and everything, but that's okay, right? I believe the market is big enough for a couple of people to survive and build a business out of it. Having said that, definitely on the insurance side, they're partners, right? So we will never be competing with them, but collaborating in every sphere. And as you mentioned, there are certain insurers which are up the curve, some are very traditional. But what we've seen, at least, majority of the insurers that we've been meeting since 2017 when I started traveling to UAE and post COVID 2020-21, every insurance company at least is now talking about digital. Some people have already progressed on that front. Some are taking extra steps. But if you clearly see 2022, still very new 2022, only 17 days into the year. But as you will also interact with a lot of insurers in 2022, every insurer is coming with a digital plan, digital initiative, or a team which is going to focus on digital. So this is very good science. This is good science because everything cannot be done in a day. But having said, the entire industry is moving in that direction, and we would love to collaborate with as many as possible.
I'm pretty sure there are lots of interesting lessons the industry can learn from, you having, taken a leapfrog and maybe from India and even here as well. So some of these collaboration opportunities could be very much there for taking.
Yes, definitely, definitely. See, what we believe is we are partners in the entire journey, and we would love to help our partners because we also have a lot to learn from them, right? So I wouldn't say our success has been only because of us. Our success has been also because of the partners who supported us, right? So I believe it's a win-win situation for both of us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Neeraj, you've done ADQ. ADQ has invested in Policybazaar. Policybazaar has had such a roaring, IPO back in India. Now, what's next? What are your expansion plans specifically to this region, specifically to the Middle East region? Do you guys have plans to enter KSA market or any other markets within the GCC? Could you give us some insights, please?
Perfect. No, thanks for that. So obviously, ADQ investment was an important investment from a regional landscape perspective. Right?
Yeah.
Having said that, we are very focused on building out the UAE piece for next 12 to 18 months. We want to get this right, get some scale, and then probably look at expansion. But having said that, it's not that we are looking actively right now, or we are not. But let's just say that UAE is going to be our focus for next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, I mean that kind of makes sense. UAE and Saudi are the bulk of the markets here, and I think it kind of makes sense to kind of get the playbook in shape in UAE and then look at the other markets.
See, what you see us is we typically do not go in with a very big bang wherever we or whatever we do. We really get in, try and understand, and then accelerate, right? And this is typically what our DNA is like.
Yeah.
So we are a very patient people. At the same time, we are very focused on what we want to do.
Yeah. Very good. Great.
Great.
As we come sort of to the end of the episode, we often ask our guests, is there a message that you would like to send to anyone from the insurance industry in the UAE or beyond, and not necessarily in Policybazaar?
So, in fact, not in Policybazaar. Someone outside.
No. I agree. One clear message is be very focused on what the consumer is, right? Unfortunately, a lot of times, and I don't blame the industry, right? what has happened is because of certain elements of claims and frauds, at times the focus has gone in how do you stop frauds rather than how do you enable consumers, how do you get a great consumer experience, right? See, at times you can't make 99% suffer because of that 1%, right?
Yeah.
And that is a balance you will have to figure out. And especially in today's environment where the consumers' demands are ever increasing.
Yeah.
So if you do a great job at delivering a service or a product, it is a norm or it is expected, right, by the consumer. Whereas if you fail on one piece, he's going to plaster you all over the world that you are bad, you can't manage, you are frauds, right? And somehow we have to live with that. We just have to live with that. So I believe if we can be focused on getting the consumer experience and focus on what the consumer is looking for, and not necessarily look at only historical piece, I believe we as an industry will do great.
Yeah, those are great words to sort of bring this to a close. And I think we have the title for our podcast from what you said there. So that's wonderful. It's been an honor. It's been a delight to have you, Neeraj, with us.
Same here, Renjit. Thanks, Vidya. Thanks for this. It was a great.
Thank you so much for doing this. A great support.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. My pleasure.